car chat.
We are actually driving to a family reunion. John's side of the family reunion.
Yep.
Lex is in the back. Hopefully he's asleep.
I think he is.
Yeah, taking a nap. So, yeah.
What you want to talk about?
I don't know. And I asked you before we turned this on.
You did. Yeah. You look nice.
Thank you.
You're glowing.
Cover FX. It's a vegan.
Shout out to Cover FX.
What?
I don't know.
Cover FX.
How about, let's talk about your first finishing up your summer session at school. How did that feel for you being now a mom and a wife and balancing school and work with Langston and work with school and work with me and you know, your knowledge expansion? How'd that feel for you?
Do you really want to go into that? He wants to go down that route. Honestly, it still does feel a little overwhelming. The summer sessions are very fast, and you know, I'll just say it was a little overwhelming.
Dealing with postpartum, we are dealing with it, but you are the brunt dealer of it. So
right, but if you ask me that, then
do you feel comfortable talking about postpartum depression on here?
No, I don't mind.
Well, let's go for it.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't even have you in the.
You know, it's all about you anyway. No one cares about me.
I'm sure they do care.
They're like, no, put her back on. You, not so much.
Okay, so if you go down that route, again, like I said, all what you just said, asked me about is pretty much overwhelming. I would say maybe about two and a half weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. I went to the doctor, and I called on my own. Went to the doctor, and I was diagnosed with postpartum depression, which honestly, to me, I think I've been dealing with it for a while, but I was just dealing with it, and I got to a point where mentally I couldn't take it anymore because I felt like I didn't, how can I put it, I felt like, one, I didn't feel like myself, or I don't feel like myself, and then two, it was just too much going on mentally, and I felt like I had nowhere to go, or no way out, or no offense, but no support. So when I called for immediate help because I felt like I needed it. So yeah, that's been going on, which probably that's probably the reason why we haven't been making videos too. I would say so much is going on to me, I guess. But yeah, what's your take on it?
I mean, I guess your take of it, if so much was going on. Well, first of all, I mean, I must say I'm not a doctor or anything like that. But I noticed there was certain things about Santana that wasn't par up to how she usually is. And I would ask her, and so she would brush things off, everything's fine. So, not in my defense per se, but you know, Santana is a very strong-willed person. So if she thinks that she can take something internally, she won't necessarily raise that white flag of help until it's a point of which she can't bear. And you know, I think it's a good thing that, you know, her to identify that, you know, she's not herself, and we now going through this process of actually giving her the help she needs. Because, I don't know, for those who are civilians who are in relationships, i.e. dating or married to someone who's been in the military, conversation can be very interesting as far as like how you communicate with folks. So with Santana's very basic level communications, and so she only gives you, it's almost like an as need to know basis. And I'm one of those people who kind of like digs deep. So, you know, as of late now, with her going to see her doctor, it's kind of fun now to kind of get her to now open up to see that there's a different side of communication. Because for a good portion of her adult life, she's only been conditioned to speak when necessary. So, yeah, it's ultimately it's about making sure that her mental space is where she needs to be. for the sake of her first, for Langston secondary,
and for us, yeah.
Thirdly, so
because I think for me, what prior to this, I would say years ago when I was in college, we had to do a report on Brooke Shields, we had to do a report on someone that was famous that had a mental illness. And I remember, for whatever reason, Brooke Shields stood out to me, and she wrote a book about her dealings or her suffering from postpartum depression. And I will say this, when I read her book, when you read her book, it's like she had the extreme where she, I think she had to be hospitalized or something like that. So when you look at that, it's like, okay, well, I don't have postpartum depression. I don't need to be hospitalized, so it's not really that big of a deal. But there's so many different, side effects of it. Just because, you look fine or you don't want to throw your kid out the window, you don't think that you're suffering from something where there are so many other things that are dealing with it. For me personally, and my therapist pointed this out to me, she was like, there are so many things that I've been dealing with, whether they be positive, and most of them have been positive. She said that because they've been happening so fast, I haven't had time to cope with anything. I've had so many life changes in such a short amount of time that I haven't given myself time to accept everything that's happened. And she said that, a lot of people, when they have positive things going on in their life, they don't realize that that can be a stressor, even though it's positive. So, moved across country, I started dating a man, I got married to a man, I had a kid. I never wanted to have children, and then I actually got pregnant and had a child. And she said, all those things were manifesting, and then the influx and change of hormones quickly and drastically brought on postpartum depression, along with not coping with everything that has happened in such a short amount of time. And I never really, thought about it until, she brought it up and was pointing things out to me and asking me how I felt, and me sharing different things that, go on in my head, or different dreams that I have that bother me. And she was just like, you got to understand that you got to cope. You have to accept what's going on and actually deal with it. And she said the first response that a lot of people have to pain or stress is to automatically avoid it. And it's not something that is individual. It's just human nature. You don't want to deal with pain. Who wants to deal with pain? So you automatically avoid it. And she said I inadvertently avoided it by doing so much. So, and I definitely agree with her, because when I was living single and I was by myself, I wouldn't say I self-medicated, but I had 3 jobs on purpose, so I didn't have to sit. And that when you're doing so much, you don't have to sit and think about anything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When you keep yourself busy.
Well, your busy work was your avoidance.
Right.
That was the way you kind of liked it. That was your distraction from the realities of what you had to face, be it the ending of a relationship or things like that. So
But it's interesting. I definitely I have a new I wouldn't say new, but a big respect for women, for single women that have children, or just women in general, because it's a lot, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom. I think a lot of people automatically just assume that stay-at-home moms do nothing, and it's a lot that goes on there. And that was another thing that my therapist thought of. She said, thought of and expressed to me. She said, before you had a child and before Langston actually came, did you and your husband talk about or sit down and decide who was going to do what? And I said, no, we never did. And I actually read an article that said that this couple, they had their first child, they didn't talk about who was going to get up in the middle of the night and change the baby and give the they didn't have a plan, and it kind of tore them apart. They eventually had another child, and before they had the child, they actually sat down and talked. All right, Ben, you're gonna get so and so up, you're gonna change so and so, bring baby to me, and I'm gonna nurse baby, and then I'll give baby back to you so I can go to sleep, and then you can put baby to sleep or whatever. So they had a plan. And my therapist said, me automatically assuming that what I do is not work, and what John does when he goes to work is work, so he doesn't have to do anything, is wrong on my end, and that's putting more stress on me. So yeah, certain things I never ever thought about. So yeah.
But doesn't that go into the aspect of not? I guess this would go for child number 2. So whenever we decide that we want to have child number 2, obviously I know you're shaking your head now, but should we have a child number 2? Wouldn't you? Is your mindset's going to have to change about how I parent?
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna. I guess your therapist kind of open up the idea of with you looking at things when John works and he doesn't have to do this. That's kind of taken away some of the parenting responsibilities that I would have had.
Yeah.
But I guess now that we are aware of that, so that means we can start figuring out what that would look like and things like that. And we never know what we would be, where we'd be at another, let's say 2 years maybe, as far as like career-wise, where the flexibility of schedules may cause us to be able to not have such a taxing, quote unquote, to a schedule of which we could be able to make sure that the new baby would be fine. We don't know. But, I mean, right. Again, it's interesting to talk about that now and in forecasting. But I mean, again, it's interesting because on one aspect, Santana, again, is just so strong-willed, and if it's not done according to the standard of her, it's not done right. So at certain points, as we're going through this process, how does it look as we're starting to transition trust, for lack of better terms?
Yeah, and honestly, like I don't know. I can't answer that right now. The therapist, I forget the name of the type of therapy that she uses, but it's something that is accepted something, and it's a new thing that the VA did test, or they studied or whatever, and they found that you get best results with this type of therapy. So through time, and this therapy is supposed to go on for at least 6 months, talk therapy, where I will learn to accept certain things. So I'm assuming in the future there are certain things that I will accept, but it's accepting everything that has happened and what brought me here, because she said that the postpartum happened a long time ago, and there's other things that happen, finances, my anxiety. I had extreme anxiety with leaving Langston with other people in the beginning.
Extreme.
Like it was really extreme.
Text me every 10 minutes.
Huh?
What is he doing now?
No, it was like it.
Well, that's the external, but I don't know what the internal is going through. Because that aspect, you would. I'm fine. You would glaze coat it over. I'm fine. But
what are you talking about?
Like, remember we had the event. We did the event at Peace.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you.
No. I'm talking about before then. That was the first time.
Where else did we go?
We didn't go. I'm talking about leaving him in general, leaving him with you, leaving him with anybody. I had extreme anxiety, which is leaving him with people in general, which is why we waited so long to leave him with Chelsea or leave him with someone. So, yeah. So there's the postpartum started a long time ago, and I think. I'm not going to say this is a bad thing, but it is a bad thing for letting it, go for so long. But I do think it's a good thing that I got to a point where I was like, I can't take it anymore. I gotta get help for it, because it could get worse.
It couldn't have gotten
worse. Oh, look, horses.
So, but yeah, that's one thing that we're dealing with as